good thing about the last night, I don't have to care if you come back. Which means it'll be longer. Feel free to leave now, but after that, I'm just going to talk about you when you do. Okay, so the way this has kind of unfolded, and also I've been making it up as I go, but the way it's been unfolding is that the first 2 weeks were primarily story with some information, and then last week it started to change over to less story and more information, and this week is a lot of information. And it's because it's the last one, and I have a lot to say, and I've learned a lot of things over the years, and I don't know if I'll ever see you guys again. So I thought, I'm just going to throw it all on you, and then you guys can decide what you want to do with it. Now, I did make another handout to help with that, okay? And it's 3 pages long. But that's because it's for all 4 weeks. That's what I'm going to go with, okay? So, would you mind handing this out? And I did this, so here's a good story for depression for you. I thought I had all day today to finish preparing, to make this handout, to make it all nice and pretty and all the good stuff in it. I forgot I had class today, 8 hours. I didn't get off till 4:30, so I was behind. So from 4:30 to 6:30, and then I had a 5:30 meeting, CR meeting. So that is not pretty. It's just type. But hopefully the information is there. I got one little graphic there for you that we'll look at. Tonight it's the one, I'm going to indoctrinate you a little bit tonight. So. Okay. Hold on, Kim. Are you getting a pen?
Pen.
Does anybody else want a pen?
Just a pen?
One more pen? So where we're at as far as the narrative is that things are starting to settle in a little bit for me in terms of my history. So I'm kind of reaching the point where I've come into grips with the fact that I have depression, that it's devastating and debilitating, and I've re-engaged the gospel. I've come to settle on Jesus being true. I'm starting to think about that again, and I'm re-engaging church a little bit, and getting involved a little bit, and trying to figure out where I belong in all of that. And when things really turned, honestly, is when I came to CR. When I came to CR, all of a sudden I started getting traction. And through all of this, what happened was, because of the spiritual dynamic, and that's why I keep saying this, if you're not a Christian, and you're, this isn't the right way to say this, but I don't say anything the right way. If you're not a Christian and you have depression, good luck with that. I don't know how to say it. Good luck with that. And I've met a lot of non-Christians doing depression, and they're not having any fun. I'm doing depression. I've got as bad a diagnosis as anybody else. Anyone I've met, anyone I've heard of. And do I look like I'm having fun?
Yeah.
I am, right? Yeah. Okay, that's weird. And I'm telling you, that's only because of God. Now, I don't know the formula for that. I'm only telling you my experience. But here's what I often say. Here's what I say. Being a Christian will not prevent you from getting depression. But if you get depression, man, you want to be a Christian. Okay? I absolutely believe that. That's been the game changer for me. So I'll continue to hammer on the spiritual dynamic of this. And hopefully you've caught by now, it's not what I'm not saying is that in any way, in my experience, does being a Christian take depression from me? The last 4 weeks have been some of the hardest weeks I've had in memory. They've been brutal. They've been the lowest, my numbering system, they've been the lowest 3s I've had to deal with in a long time. I've been absolutely beside myself. It's been hard. I am not up here saying, hey, follow Jesus and you'll feel better. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. So don't hear me saying that. I'm saying something completely different. And I'll be emphasizing that again tonight. So, actually, this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. All right. So, using this image, living with depression, fighting against depression. Okay. I'm going to do some little quizzes tonight throughout, for those of you that have been coming. All right. So here's quiz number 1. Quiz question number 1. What is the key to both of these? And don't just say Jesus. This isn't Sunday school. Living with depression, fighting against depression. One word. What's the key? Both. Okay. That's true. You're doing both. Yeah. Good. That's excellent. But that's not the key. But that's absolutely true.
Support.
Good guess.
Faith.
Good guess.
Will.
What?
Will.
Good guess.
Surrender.
Good guess. I know this is going to sound weird, especially in church, but it'll make sense when we get around to telling you. Anybody else want to try it? Were you not here last week? For the love of Pete.
Yeah.
It's on YouTube if you want to watch it again. Okay, here's the Thank you. Now, everything you just said are all think words. Okay? Everything you said, think surrender, think support. It's not, and if you're just doing support without thinking, it's not going to help you much. You have to think. And the thing is, depression, what makes depression is that it's emotional. It's all about feelings. It's about destroying your emotional life. It's about making you feel horrible, even if you can't explain why, way more horrible than you should, way more horrible than other people around you. And it takes away from you the ability to feel good. It's all about the feelings. And how depression beats you is by keeping you thinking about your feelings. Okay? The way to live with it and the way to fight against it is to think. Now, thinking is hard with depression. We've all acknowledged that. I mean, in any given moment, thinking is impossible. You can't think if you can't think, and that's not what I'm suggesting. I'm suggesting thinking when you can. And sometimes you can. Okay? If you're really bad and you can't, you don't that day. But the next day you might. And the next day you probably can. And then that's when you think. Not just feel, or you'll be right back where you started. Okay? I've said that many times, and that is the key. That is the key. Think. So the question is, think about what, right? Okay, so first we talked about how to think about depression. We talked about that ad nauseum. How to think above depression. We hit that one hard last week. Okay, we got to get above it. Okay, got to get above it. And then this week we're going to talk about how to think around depression, and I mean that in both senses. Okay, when you have depression, you're just around it all the time. There's no getting away from it. Everywhere you go, there it is, and it's haunting. It's just this nag, this constant nag, and so how do you think around that? And then the other way is how to think around it. Okay, because it has this blocking component to stop you from doing any kind of life at all. But you can get around it, and thinking is the key. So this is going to be all about how to think around depression. It's a lot more practical, but it's still mental. It's still about thinking. Doing things out of the thinking. A lot of things. Okay, so how to think around depression. First of all, I'm just going to hit you straight away with my last lesson I learned. This is the last lesson I learned, and this is why I'm here. I learned that depression can be subdued. Okay? It cannot be, in my experience, actually, I know it can be overcome completely. People do it. But I will not assume that that's going to happen for you. And I'm not going to assume that's going to happen for me. I've already had someone tell me I must not be a Christian because I haven't been miraculously healed yet. You're going to hear that. And Christians that don't have depression do not understand Christians who do. Okay? And they're going to accuse you of not having any faith. They're going to accuse you of not following Jesus. They're going to accuse you of these things. And I'm going to tell you here in a minute what to do with all that stuff. And I'll try to use the kindest words as I can. But what I do know for a fact is that, at least for me, and that's what I mean by a fact, for me, that depression can be subdued. And you subdue it. And, it's kind of like having a really really big, angry, crazy dog that will eat you. If you can subdue it, it's still a really big, crazy dog that can eat you, but it won't. It won't actually eat you because you've subdued it. You haven't changed its nature, and you haven't gotten rid of it, but it's under your control. So it's about getting it under your control. This is the game that I've been talking about. This is our game, this depression game, okay? So I'm going to give you some hints tonight as to how I've managed to do this. And again, I'm not talking about depression going away, okay? Get that straight. The first thing we have to do in our minds is separate these two things. Now, do you know what I mean by that? For those of you that were here last week, you know what I mean by this? I've got to get this down in concrete in your minds, okay? This, how do I want to say this? Okay, this is what we experience every day. This is physical reality. This is what we do, our relationships, and this is what every human being does. They live, okay? They have a life. Every human being has a life, okay? But this one is not what every human being does. This is God, okay? This is what I talked about last week. I'm not going to say all that over again. Everyone clap. I'm not going to say all that over again. Okay? This is God. This is the nature of God. This is God's glory, and this is God sharing his glory with us. We engage the God of that glory, and we engage it in a godly way, which means the same things that make him glorious make us glorious. And that is life. And that will go on forever through Jesus. Follow Jesus. You engage life, goes on forever. It's the gospel, right? In a few words. Okay? That life and this life are not the same thing. Okay? Now here's what we tend to do is, okay, most of you are Christians, so I'm talking to you. This is in-house conversation in a way. I couldn't give this same depression talk someplace else, although I would. But what we normally do, even as Christians, and you have to admit this, is we normally do this, and we spice it up with that. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. Thanks for admitting that, Corey. Okay? Oh, you can get away with that if you're living the life that dunks. You know, remember that guy? Yeah. If you're living the life that's just the regular, normal life, you can get away with living this and spicing it up with that. And you can come to church on Sunday and sing the songs and drop in once in a while on a Bible study or whatever. And you know, spice it up. Yeah, throw a little Jesus in there. It's great. Okay? And I don't know what Jesus is doing with that. I really don't. I'm not going to judge that. That's pretty normal, especially in our culture. Very normal in our culture. Other cultures, not so normal. Okay? You get depression, that ain't going to happen. In fact, that's going to mess you up. Because that spice now don't taste very good. You try living this life with depression with a little bit of Jesus, and it's just going to confuse you. You're not going to understand why he's not working for you. You're not going to understand why he's not answering your prayers. You're not going to understand, you know, you're going to hate church. You're going to hate the songs. You're not going to want to be there. You're not going to want any part of it. I know, because I did this. Okay? It does not work. Okay? What has to happen for us, which is what's supposed to happen for every believer, is that we trade this for that. And then when we grab a hold of that, we come back and do this. It makes way more sense. That's not easy necessarily. It's what Jesus is like, okay, suffer. Thanks a lot, Jesus. It's hard and it's costly, but the gain, and this is what I've learned with having depression. I knew the theology of this before, and I would preach it, but I didn't get it until I got depression. And I don't know about you guys, but one of the reasons the depression hit me so hard, and I think it's different now, maybe, but one of the reasons the depression hit me so hard is because I was doing that. It's because I was and I was a pastor at the time. Like, I meant well. But what the depression did is it turned this into a kind of hell. And suddenly I realized, this sucks. I don't like this anymore. I went out. So what does that mean now? That's how I had to face reality. Oh my gosh, what does that even mean anymore? To rethink my relationship with God and my faith and all that sort of stuff. And remember when I told you this story, like, my reaction to that was go away. And I tried to argue God away. Remember that? I didn't want anything to do with him because he let me down here. Now here's the funny thing about that, and I'll just say this straight to you. God doesn't owe you anything. He didn't owe me anything, and he doesn't owe you anything. So you're going to God angry because your life hasn't turned out the way you hoped it would. That's really misguided. And you're wasting time being angry at a glorious God. And it isn't going to help you. It's just going to make you worse. Okay? So, and that's what it did for me. So I finally come around on that, reorganized around that, and things began to change. Okay, so this guy, where does he belong? Which column?
Cute life.
No, this is the good life. He's got the good life. I mean, nobody can compete with Michael Jordan on the good life. Everything has gone great for him. Okay? And look at that face. I love that face. Oh, I'm just killing it. Which column is that? Goes over here. All right? I call it the good life, but is it?
No.
I don't know that it is. And that's why Jesus said, it's kind of hard for the rich to enter the kingdom because they don't realize they don't have a good life. They just think they do. Okay, so everybody wants that, and now we all agree it's not what it looks like, okay? So those of us who can't do this, I think it's time to stop whining about that, right? We all agree that this isn't the goal, but every day we want it because it feels good. It just feels so good. Doesn't he just feel good? Can't you see it? Okay, so we got to get over that. All right, this guy. Remember that? Hey, did you notice? No boot tonight. It's healing. Now, as far as a metaphor, that will mess up our metaphor. I almost wore it just so I didn't mess up the metaphor. Where does that go? Over there. It goes on this side. This is just life.
Well, would that not go on the other side? Because if that never happened to you, then you wouldn't realize you need Jesus and
Okay.
God and the Holy Spirit.
Would you like to preach?
No, I'm just saying.
You're not wrong.
I really love my hard times because that makes me know that I need Jesus.
Hold that thought.
Oh, okay.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
Pastor.
There's a word for that. That's a good sermon, Corey. Hold that thought. But the actual break is this life.
Okay.
The actual break, the actual depression, it's this. It's just life. It's just life. That's all it is. There's nothing eternal about it. It's not going to go on forever. Now, what you just said is, and what you're doing is what I'm saying. You're taking that and applying it to this. Okay. How about this?
Oh, terrible. Oh.
Yeah. Does that feel familiar?
No.
Not at all. You've never done this.
Never.
Not even once. It's just life. I know that sounds so trite, doesn't it? But you got to remember, this is me. I'm not preaching to you from some high ground here. I know what that's like. I know how that feels like when it goes on and on and on. So I'm just telling you, if you can get your head wrapped around the idea that even these days, and I've had them just recently, it's just life. It's okay. It hurts like hell, but it isn't hell. Okay? So, we can think about it. We can get above it and think about it and get through it because it's just life. All right. What about this? Okay, now here comes the indoctrination. This is the fun part for me. If you were here last week, you didn't see this picture, except every week you see it because it's my screen. Yeah, it's my this. Okay. I want to explain this to you. I'm going to take a few minutes and just explain to you what this is, because if you're around me at all after this, you're going to see it over and over. And maybe some of you will be around me after this, so I'm just going to give it to you now. Okay, do you remember the 7 attributes of God that I believe are driving the human narrative and will continue to do so forever? This is the life. Okay? Now, all the attributes of God are glorious, but these 7 are the key. Does anybody want to throw one out there? Love. Another one?
Knowledge.
What?
Knowledge.
Wisdom.
Wisdom.
Oh, careful with that one.
Okay.
Wisdom. Another one?
Humility.
Humility. I'd love to explain to you why I use water in that. Another day. What's this? Peace. Obviously.
Joy.
Joy.
Beautiful.
Beauty. We get them all? Someone said this, but what is this?
Holy.
Holy. Okay? Or holiness would be more appropriate grammar-wise. I like holy. Just say holy. holy, wisdom, humility, peace, joy, love, beauty. On these things you shall think. Okay? Now, engaging those things from the point of view of having been redeemed, from the point of view of reconciliation, and I refer to the gospel as reconciliation. Do you know why? Because God is the gospel. So what the gospel is getting back with God. That's the gospel. It's not about heaven. Heaven is the place where we're with God. It's about the glory of God, a glorious God that we get back with through Jesus. That's the gospel. And then we live there, okay? So, engaging God, engaging His attributes, engaging Him on these levels are going to require these three things. These three hands.
Worship.
Oh, just hold that. Hold that thought. That's something else. But you read my mind. This one, can you see what it is? Can you tell what that is? It's a hand holding a hand in a kind of let me help you up kind of way. Any idea what you think that is? Mercy. Close. You keep going because you already know the word. You said grace. It's grace, which involves mercy. Okay, grace is the mercy that helps. It's not just mercy, I have mercy on you, but it's actually let me help you. Okay? So it's God reaching down and helping us. That's grace. Okay, so we need the grace. This one, anybody want to guess? Receiving, how do we receive? Faith.
Openly.
Openly receive through faith, and we're receiving grace through faith. And then this is hope. Okay? This is kind of a past tense, and this is kind of a future tense. They're basically the same thing otherwise. Okay? Faith and hope. Faith, hope, and grace. Faith, hope, and grace. You're going to hear those from me all the time. Of course, this is just God. Okay. So, where do you think that goes? There. And the three arrows, if you recall, is that we're doing this straight to God, upward. We're doing this within, that's inward. So we're becoming these things through these means. Okay? And then this is outward. We're being these things and giving these things also through these ways. Okay? Am I blowing your mind yet? It's a lot of, what the heck is he talking about? I'm just telling you, this is just me talking. I'm not getting paid for this. So. I don't care what you do with it. I'm telling you, this is what works for me. Okay, so you get your head wrapped around, this is my life. This is life. This is my life. This is living, and it's also my life. Right? This still is my life. That's not. That's over. But this is still my life. But it's a little L. That's my life. Now here's the trick. I've already hinted at it. You want to do that. So you want to live this life in the context of this life. And I'm going to tell you practically how here in a minute. Okay? What depression wants to do is focus you here. We'll talk about that again in a minute. What we do, how we think, is to go, no. I'm going here, and then we'll talk. Okay? I'll go here, and then we'll deal with depression. But if you don't go here, you're going to go here. Okay? So this is not easy. This is the physical, emotional, life. I'm going to stick with emotional. This is the emotional life, and this is the spiritual life. So following Jesus, how does following Jesus affect depression? It completely changes its definition. Because now, this is following Jesus, and that changes this completely. Not the emotion part of it. Doesn't necessarily change that at all. But it changes how I can deal with all that. Which then, oddly enough, helps you be better. So, what it does then is gives you an opportunity at this life. What I call this the cute life. Mm-hmm. Us people with depression, clapping ourselves on the back because we brushed our teeth today. Yeah, that's cute. That is not Michael Jordan. That's just like, everybody else is like, what's wrong with you? You can't live the normal life. And we're just like, are you kidding me? The fact that you're talking to me right now is me kicking the crap out of depression. So, it looks like that to everyone else, but we know it looks like that to us. Okay? We are overcoming that thing. Still there. Don't get off of it. It'll eat you. Subdued. Okay? So, there's a word, someone already used it. There's a word, one of my favorite words, I mean, I got a bunch of favorite words. You already saw that. A bunch of favorite words. But here's a key word for how we do this. How we think. When you take heaven, okay, God has reached down from heaven to pull us up. That's grace. We reach up to heaven and take hold of God, and that's faith. And the two work together, and that's the Christian life. Faith and hope. Okay, I'm just going to keep saying faith and hope. Grace, faith, and hope. It's doing the work, okay? When we do that, there's a word for that. Every time we reach up in any kind of way, when we look up, when we reach up, we pursue up, there's a word for all of that. You know what it is? Somebody said earlier. Worship. Worship. So when we sing the songs on Sunday, we call them worship songs. Why do we call them worship songs? Because we're reaching up. Okay? The songs don't define worship. Worship defines the songs. Okay? We're reaching up. It's worship. But that's not the only way we reach up. If that's the only way you are reaching up, then this is what you're doing, and you're throwing a little spice in. Call them worship songs. They feel great if you're in the right mood. If you're in the wrong mood, they feel like crap. But you do them anyway, because it's worship. Okay, so this is how we're going to do now. We're going to think worship. So here we go. Now to the nitty-gritty. There are five, there are more, but I have five specific attacks depression wants to do on you. Okay? And I'm pretty sure that these are for all of us. But these are coming from my experience. These aren't coming from a book or anything. So I'm going to give you the attack, and then I'm going to give you the thinking worship response. Okay? So, attack number one, distraction. Distraction is, here's the thought for distraction. Life is bigger than life. Okay, now what I want to remind you is that what's he all about? What's depression all about? Feelings. And this is what it feels like. It feels like what we're doing here, it feels like the depression and everything that it comes out of that depression and everything that has led to that depression and everything that's going to come out of that depression, that is life. And that is depression's first attack on you, is to convince you that through your feelings, that your day-to-day life is more real than the gospel. And if he could pull that off, you're toast. You're toast. Very difficult. Very, very difficult. You know why? Because life is emotion. And it feels true. Every single day. It's like, what's Jesus got to do with this? This is just pain, constant distress, constant confusion. And then I go to church on Sunday and he says some nice things about Jesus, and I'm like, what has that got to do with anything? Okay? That's him talking. He's doing the talking with all of that. Your feeling is words. Okay? Is it weird that I personify depression? I don't know what else to do. But it works. It works. Okay? So what are we going to do about this? Here, let me tell you what's going on through our minds whenever we do this. I need. Does that sound familiar? I need to feel better. I need to get back to work because my finances are falling apart. I need my wife to leave me alone, or I need my wife to help. I need my wife to, I need my kids to go to university and leave me alone. That didn't work, did it? This is my oldest daughter, by the way. She's going to do a talk about how to be raised by a dad with depression. 15 years of her life. I need, right? That's life. What I need in life. Little life, right? Little life, big life. Little life, I need. I want. I deserve to be normal. I didn't ask for this. I didn't do anything to get this. It's not my fault. I've lived my life better than most people I've met. And I'm being honest. This is how I feel. This is exactly how I felt. I've lived my life better than most people I know. I've followed Jesus to the best of my ability. I haven't chased down money. I haven't cheated on my wife. I haven't, I've been greedy and I have, all these things. Like I've lived a good life. Why do I have this? That was part of the reason why I was mad at God. It wasn't fair. Have you heard of Job?
Oh, yeah.
All I do is change the title. Phil. I don't deserve this. God, you owe me. Oh my word. Anyway, those thoughts, I need, I want, I deserve, this is all that life is bigger. It's all about me and what I want. Okay, so this is him working us over. So what are we going to do? Oh yeah, emotions. We're going to think. And we're going to think worship. Okay, so this one is a little bit easy in the sense that the answer is kind of obvious. The answer is a little bit obvious. Yeah, well, it's that. Okay, here's what we're going to do. And I know this isn't easy, especially if you have depression. We're going to connect with God. And if you're just doing the little life and you're spicing it up with the big life, then this doesn't, you can blow this off. But if you're trying to survive, and you need God, and I mean in a real way. You need God. And when I started reconnecting with God, and I don't mean with theology, which is easier, I mean with God. I don't mean with church, which is harder. I mean with God. And here's the cool thing about God, one of them, okay? So his attributes, remember one of them is humility, okay? And one of them is love. You put love and humility together, you know how God feels about you in your depression? Okay? A, he hates it. He hates it. He hates that you have it. He hates that I've gone through this. He hates it the same way he felt when Jesus was on the cross. He hates it. He'll allow it. It might be necessary. Of course he said. It might be necessary, so he'll allow it. But he doesn't want it. Okay? He doesn't want it. He doesn't like that you're going through it. He's not sitting 500,000 miles away going, get over it. And here's another thing he's not doing. Here's another thing. Is he doesn't, okay, so he cares. That's the first one. And he doesn't care. That's the second one. When you're going through depression, you can't dunk in any way. Okay? You're living the cute life, which means you're singing worship songs and you don't feel them. Does it make you feel guilty? You want to pray, but you can't? Make you feel guilty? You can't even look at your Bible. Okay? You're just like, I ain't touching that. Feel guilty? Right? And it's like, God must hate me. He must be so disappointed. He must think so little of me. Am I even a Christian? Why would he want me to be? All these kinds of thoughts? God's not thinking those thoughts. That's not how he's about it all. He's not like, dance, monkey, perform for me. He doesn't need us to perform for him. Why does he want us to do the things he wants us to do? Because it gives us life. He's sharing his life with us. So he wants us to have it. And when we do the sin thing, or the negligent thing, or whatever, we're hurting ourselves, and it's hard to watch. You got kids, you know what I'm talking about. It's hard to watch them do stupid stuff. Now, sometimes it's hard for us to watch because, they're embarrassing us. We're living vicariously through them. But that's us. God's not doing any of that. He's not embarrassed. He's just like, oh, man, do you really want to waste your time on this? Okay? So here's what this means practically. When I say connect with God, for example, I'll come back to focus. Pray. I mean it. Pray. I know how hard that is. Well, let's not make it hard. Okay? Do you remember 2 weeks ago when I was falling apart up here? Do you remember my prayer? Basically one word, wasn't it? Help. That's a prayer. Sincere, honest connection with God. I can't do this. I can't do this. Just help. And is he up there going, you forgot the my Father who art in heaven part. You forgot that part. Like, no, he's not doing that. Now, when you're in the right space, you can do the my Father who art in heaven. I mean, skip the art. But anyway, you can do that, and that's great. Do that because that's going to help you too. But the days you can't, just throw out a help or throw out a, God, this sucks. Your language. No, and just, God just really, he's like, I know. That's his response. I know. I'm sorry. I understand. Believe me. Okay? That's God. He doesn't need us to perform for him. And with depression, you can't. Don't project onto God what the rest of the world is doing. Okay? Let him be him. And he wants to let you be you. So connect. So first one's focus. Now here's the thing that I do. I don't know how hard this is or easy this is, but for me, really helpful. First of all of this is going to come under this heading, simplify. One of the things about having depression is it's all just too much. Everything is too much. Being a dad, too much. Being a husband, too much. Working, too much. But being a Christian is not too much. Okay? Don't make it too much. It's actually very, very easy. Don't make it hard so that you can't do it. Don't do that. Okay? Simplify. And that's why, when I talked about putting on the gospel, okay, before any of the programs are running, reboot, just put on the gospel. It's just very, very simple. Okay? And you keep it simple. It's like, so when everything is going like this, and depression's doing the distraction thing, your life, I just go, I just took the whole thing and push it away. Just sit someplace for a minute. I mean, that's all you're going to do anyway. Maybe you're laying in bed. That works. Just lay there and don't even start thinking about whether you're going to get up or not. Don't even care. Just lay there, take all of that stuff that's going here and clamp it down, set it aside, and start over. Just simplify, just like, okay, here's what I know. Jesus is real, Jesus is true, and I belong to him. And I'm going to live forever. I'm going to live the life forever. Okay, all the other stuff, whatever, I don't get it, I don't know what to do with it, I don't know how to figure it out, I hate the way it feels, whatever. I'm going to hold this. I'm going to hold this. I'm just going to focus. God, it's just me and you. Now, do you remember what happened to Jesus? I told you this is going to be long. Do you remember the first thing Jesus did after he was baptized? What's the first thing Jesus did after he was baptized? He went to the desert. You know why he went to the desert?
Right.
No. To be tested. And you know who took him there? No. The Holy Spirit. Wrap your head around that. Jesus gets baptized. Glorious moment. God speaks. This is my son whom I love. He's dunking it at this point, right? And Holy Spirit descends like a dove. And it's just like, oh, the Trinity is there. And, everything's there. Immediately, the Holy Spirit goes, follow me. Takes him out into the desert to be tempted. Now, if that doesn't mess with your mind, it's like, what? So he takes him out into the desert, and what does Jesus do next? Fast. For how long? 40 days. You know why 40 days? Besides the metaphor. You know why 40 days? It's in the next verse. Because at the end of 40 days, he was hungry. That's why. Just let him sit there until he can't sit there anymore. He's hungry. Well, I guess 40 days, 40 minutes. 40 days, now he's hungry. And Satan's leaving him alone, right? Satan's leaving him alone. And he's just sitting there for 40 days. And at the end of 40 days, Satan steps in because he's hungry. He's hungry. I don't have it anymore. That's the little life, right? That's the little life. He's hungry. Oh, now we've got him distracted. Go. So Satan steps in and he starts, are you really the Son of God? Well, let me tell you, when you're out in the desert for 40 days and you're hungry, you start to question things. It's a bit confusing. Are you really the Son of God? Prove it. He's messing with his mind big time. Okay? What do you think Jesus was doing for those 40 days? Praying. That's how he beat it. Because for those 40 days, he wasn't just sitting there thinking about food. Okay, that didn't happen until day 40. But that's a temptation for us, right? We just sit there and think about our little lives all day, and we don't understand why we're hungry all day. Okay? Praying. Now, for Jesus, he can pray he can pray for 40 days, probably didn't even take a breath. I mean, good for Jesus. It's Jesus. I can't pray straight for 40 days, but I can pray, okay? So first, we want to do this desert thing. This desert thing is when it's just you and God, and you're not even hungry yet. That's where we want to go. And I know that sounds hyper-spiritual or whatever, and I'm still working on how to even do it. Every once in a while I'll figure it out, and then it's gone. I figure it out, and it's gone. Whatever. But if you can just, at least mentally, just take this moment, it's just me and God. Nothing else matters. It's just me and God. Nothing else matters. I'm not even hungry. Nothing else matters. It's just me and God. And then you can think about God, who He is. I like it. I actually have that here somewhere. Oh yeah, you start thinking about God and who He is. Here's how I suggest you do this. This works really great for me. So first of all, for a long while, I was doing a prayer journal. I stopped because I'm stupid, and I haven't picked it back up again because I'm stupid. I highly recommend it if you're smarter than me, and I'm going to get back to it. Yeah, got it? But anyway, in the prayer journal, one of the sections is just praise. And what I would do is go to the Psalms and go and just start reading through the Psalms slowly. You're not trying to finish it. This isn't the Psalms in a year. You're just read slowly until something pops out about God. And then you stop. And you just sit there. And you think about that thing that's about God. And then you say to God, you're cool because of this. And say as many words as you can about it. And if it's only, you're cool because of this, that's enough. Remember, he's not impressed with your words. But if you have more words, if you're one of those people that can vocalize these things, go on and on. This is how this has been in my life. This is how I've seen this. This is how I've experienced this in the past. Depression has not changed this. This is still true. It's like that song, The Goodness of God. You sing that as a depressed person? The goodness of God? Does that mess with you? Okay, you know why it does? Because you're looking at your little life. And you're defining the goodness of God by your little life. God is the big life. The goodness of God is the big life. How that works out in your little life is His business. So you don't want to channel the arrow the other way. Okay? So the goodness of God is still true. And if you can think about your life from that perspective, you'll see A, Jesus died for you. B, who cares? Jesus died for you. Right? So that's the goodness of God, so we can still sing about it. Even though you feel like crap. It's amazing. This is how it works. So this is the praise thing. Praise, praise, praise. Kills distraction. Just keep focusing on God and looking at the goodness and the glory of God. And you just take those 7 things and tear them apart. Define them. Understand them. Put scripture to them. Just keep going to those 7 things over and over again. And see it everywhere. Start taking it into your life. Where you can see a flower, an actual literal flower, and go, why isn't that gray? Because God is beautiful. That's why. You eat something and it's good. Why does that taste good? Because God is joy. So He gave us taste buds. And you just keep attaching these things to the glory of God. Man, does that have a huge effect on your heart. It really, really does. So praise. Connection. You got to connect to God. One of the ways that we do this is by being around people who are connected to God. So here's something I should have wrote on your paper. Do not try to do depression alone. Get you alone, divide and conquer, you're toast. Okay? You need to be around, and I know how hard this is, because other Christians don't understand. But if we started a support group for people with depression, we would understand each other. That's a good idea. We could start that next week. We are starting that next week. Little plug here, like I'm getting paid for this. Little plug. If you want to struggle together, we're going to do that on Tuesday nights. And we're going to do it under the context of Celebrate Recovery. That is logical. I don't have time to explain the logic of it right now. It does make sense. To do it that way, it'll be a little bit weird to do it that way, but it will make sense. And then we will process this depression together. We will think together. And we'll worship together. And it will help. I promise. It'll help. Okay, so there's the connection. Connect to God through people who connect to God. And then the gratitude. Same thing as praise. Be thankful for everything. Okay, don't be thankful for depression. You can if you figure it out. You can. Like like Corey said.
You should.
And you should, and you might get there, but I'm not going to put that on you, okay? This isn't a righteousness thing. If you get to that place, congratulations, you've arrived. In the meantime, there's serious things. I know you're sad. I know, and I know you don't feel good about anything, but if you pay attention, you actually do. Like, here's a good one for me. I keep coming back to this one. Grapes. Metro grapes, not no-froze grapes. Don't get your grapes no-froze. You get grapes when they're hard, poppy, you know, you rinse those things off with cold water, don't want to warm them down, and then you snap in your mouth, the glory of God. And man, you do that. Now, if you're just popping grapes, and you're just like, depression, you ate all those grapes and you didn't even notice. So, train yourself to go, oh my gosh, that's good. Okay? Exaggerate. Exaggerate. Speak to what it would be if you weren't depressed. Like, and same thing, a day like today, okay? I don't care what number you're at, it's a beautiful day. So you can go out, if you can get up, you go out, you go, life sucks, but what a beautiful day. It helps. Do it over and over and over. It helps. Because otherwise, you just focus on yourself. I need, I want, I deserve. Well, you're eating grapes on a glorious day. You know, you may not have known you wanted that. You may not have known you needed that. And you certainly don't deserve it. But you have it. Just be thankful. It helps. You get good at that, and you start being thankful for all these. You start noticing there's all this stuff. Depression's like, you don't have anything. Bull. Okay, there's all this stuff. Okay, I gotta speed up. This is only number 1. I got 5. All right, attack number 2. I promise I'll speed up. I promise I'll try to speed up. Attack number 2, the loss damage spiral. Okay, so here's what I think depression is. Absolutely no education in this whatsoever. Don't quote me, okay? But this is what I think depression is. I think first, if you have depression, I'm talking about depression, not a sad moment. You have depression. I think there's a predisposition involved. I think some of us are predisposed for depression. I don't know what that means. I don't know how. I don't know if it's neurological. I don't know what it is. But I believe that we're predisposed. It's like having, you know, brittle bone syndrome or whatever that is. You know, where people just break their bones just by walking. Well, they didn't do anything to deserve that. It's just something they got. I think there's a genetic component or something, but we're predisposed. So that's already there waiting, just waiting to eat us. Okay, we don't know. We're just going about living our lives, and there's this thing just waiting to eat us. Okay, and then here's what happens: loss. And I think it's almost every time. I haven't met a person with depression yet that couldn't tell me what they lost. Okay? Something got lost. Something significant, maybe a bunch of things. You know, if it goes back to your childhood, it could be your childhood that was lost. Family member, spouse, career, faith, all these things that mean so much to us. You already have this predisposition, right? Predisposition towards melancholy or whatever. And then the loss happens, and it's overwhelming. It completely destroys your entire view of life. It just robs everything. Gone. Now, here comes the spiral. That happens, and then how do we react? Well, not well. We've got depression. We've lost something. So we lash out. And you know what happens when we lash out? We lose something else. We withdraw. You know what happens when we withdraw? We lose something else. And then because we lost that, we react and we lose something else. Loss, damage. Loss, damage. There's only one place for that to end. That's where that ends. That has got to be interrupted. Okay, it feeds itself, and it's got to be interrupted. So, loss, damage. Loss, damage, loss, damage, loss, damage, loss, damage. And the damage is not just internal, it's external, right?
Yeah.
So you do damage to other people. Lash out at them. Now they've been hurt. Well, of course, now they're losing something. Maybe they're going to respond the same way and do some damage back. Damage, loss, damage. End of relationship, more loss. Now what? Well, probably more damage. There's a saying we use in CR, which is hurt people hurt people. Say that again, hurt people hurt people. Okay, that's kind of the same way of saying the lost, damaged spiral. Okay, it's just, okay, once again, the gospel is going to help with this, and worship is going to turn it around. We're going to worship with our minds. Here's the tagline for the lost, damaged spiral. Depression is depressing. Depression is depressing. That's depression, which is depressing. And everything's depressing, and that gives me depression, which is depressing. There's your spiral. Looks like that. All our emotions. It's all our emotions, because you know what? It's not the loss or the damage. Right? It's the emotions of the loss. It's the emotions that's causing the damage. It's the out of control emotions. That's why we're going to think. All right, so first let's think about the loss. First, life, little life, is real. Okay? Don't hear me saying just because big life exists, that little life is somehow diminished. It's not. Little life is real. Okay? The loss, it's real. Don't minimize it. Don't deny it. It's real. It happened. It hurts. It's horrible. God hates it. Jesus died for it. You know, so we got to respond appropriately. It's real. I find this is one of the things that really messed with me is I didn't know what to do with all the loss. I didn't know what to do with it. You know what you do? This is biblical. This is a worship response. You grieve. Really, really grieve. Lots of words. Let the emotion go. Try to control that. I'm not talking about controlling emotions. Just let it go in a healthy way, in a healthy place. All right? Grieve. Say it over and over, out loud. This is horrible. This is why it's horrible. This is how it feels, which is horrible. This is why it happened. Don't try and paint some Jesus thing over the top and say, it's okay, it's just life. No. It's horrible. Jesus on the cross was also life. It was horrible. Okay? So, your suffering, it's legit. Take it seriously. Grieve it out. Okay? That's the attack on loss. Grieve it out. And if you don't believe that's a biblical thing, just go to the Psalms. Some of those Psalms are nasty. I mean, that guy's angry. And, you know, take my enemies' babies and bash their heads on the rocks. It's in the Bible. You got to be pretty upset to say something like that. You know, but in the Bible, he actually said that to God. God didn't. I don't think God did it. I don't think he did. But that's how he felt. You know, that's the pray thing again. God, this is how I feel. Just that person that did that thing. Could you hurt him? Hurt him a lot. I hate him. It's horrible. I hate him. Just say it. Don't try and get Christian about it. Just say it. It is Christian. Just go with it, okay? Get it out. And here's what I found when I caught on to this because I took a class about helping people with grieving and dying. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is for me. I'm supposed to be learning how to help people with this. I'm like, this is what I need. And I realized I hadn't grieved anything. I mean, I was internally trying to, but I was like, I have to deliberately, and it started, those things that are so horrible, they dissipate with some grief. With some all-out grief, they do dissipate some. They're not as horrible as they were before we grieved. It's a natural process. Okay, and here's the other response. Life is also real. Big life. It's also real. And that makes loss suffering. So when we deal with suffering in a particular way as Christians, we grieve it, and then we work with it with God. So we surrender. Okay, this is my deal. This is my life. This is what's happened. This is my loss. This is the damage. I have depression. I've lost everything. Okay. God, now what? It's your mess. You know, help me here. And just surrender it up. Surrender it up. And go back to the gospel and say, God, I belong to you anyway. So, you know, here we go. Grieve, surrender. Grieve, surrender. Okay. If you haven't grieved, start there. Oh, everything else I've said, I mean, obviously, the faith thing. But then as far as the practical thing, Think about it. What did you actually lose? Talk to somebody that you trust about it. Get counseling if you can. It's hard to find. But find someone you trust and unload. You don't have to get your ducks in a row. Just go to them and say, I'm going to grieve now. And then you just let it go. Okay? Make sure they can handle it. And tell them they don't need to say anything. They don't need to give you advice or wise counsel. They just need to be there to let you start going. And meet with them until you're kind of tired of doing it. You get to the point where you're like, I don't want to talk about this anymore. That's a good sign. Okay. Damage. How do we handle the damage? Here's 3 ideas. Okay? Especially the external damage. Good thing I don't preach sermons, eh? Can you imagine going to church and me talking this long? One is the transparency. Okay, this is the numbering system thing. Okay, transparency. There are places that are not appropriate for you to tell them that you have depression and that you're going to probably be a horrible person in front of them. Okay, there are places you probably don't want to do that. Your boss might be one of them. But everywhere else, just drop the pride and just tell people. It's like, okay, you need to know. Especially if you do something stupid. You're like, all right, here's the thing. I have depression, and I do stupid stuff, and I say stupid stuff. I'm sorry, I just did that. But it'll help you to know that I don't mean it, and I'm not like that. I just have this depression thing, and it's screwing me up. Okay, I'm sorry. Get used to that. Get used to just telling people. And I have found the sooner the better. And people are actually quite amazing about it. They don't always know what to say and do, and they'll say stupid things and give you trite advice and all this other stuff. They just ignore it. But mostly they're like, oh, sorry to hear that. Is there any way I can help? It's like, yeah, just forgive me every time I'm an idiot. That would really help. And don't ask me to do things. Because I don't want to do anything. Don't ask me to do things. Okay, so that's the transparency thing. And if you start using the numbering system that we talked about, tell people the number you're at. Try to remember to do that. Tell people, I'm 3 today. Back off. I'm a 5. Let's do something with that. Talk. Communication. The second one's avoidance. And I mean that literally. Stay away. Stay away from people. When you need to just be alone, be alone. Tell people you need to be alone and be alone. And I mean that all the time. Anything that you can get out of it. If you can go, go. But be transparent and tell them. It's like me with Celebrate Recovery. They've got used to seeing me for a while and then not seeing me for a while. And it's because they know I have depression, and every once in a while, I can't be around them. It's no offense to them. I can't be around people. I'm going to have to take a break, and then sometimes I get in a loss damage spiral, whatever, and that'll go on for a while, and suddenly I'll go, and I'll come out of it, and then I'll come back. But people need to know this is the game you're playing, and if you don't play it this way, you'll probably just quit. But if you have permission to temporarily break, you can come back. Okay? So when you need to step back, obviously if you have to work or whatever, you have to work, but anything you can step back from, tell you people in your relationships, tell them, sometimes I just need to be alone. Don't take it personally or take it personally, because guess what? I don't care. But I don't mean it personally. I can't stand you right now. I need to be alone or I'm going to hurt somebody. Okay? Just avoid everything when you have to. Okay? That's my advice. And then the third one, of course, is repair. Fix the damage. It's not hard. We just have to get over ourselves and go, so, I'm stupid again. It's okay. It's not you. It's the depression. Get used to it. I did it. It's my fault. But it's also because I have depression. And I'm sorry I did it again. I'm sorry I did it again. I'm sorry again. I know you get sick of saying it, if you say it at all. You'll get sick of saying it, and you'll start to think they're not taking you seriously, and maybe they will, maybe they won't. But it's the only chance you got. You got to fix the damage before it spirals into more loss and more damage. Fix it. All right. Moving right along. Attack number 3, confusion. Right? Ever feel confused? I don't understand what's happening anymore. Oh, depression loves this. Your feelings are telling you the truth. That's the line for confusion. Whatever you feel, it must be true. That will screw you up Emotional thoughts. Now, we all have every human has emotional thoughts. I feel this. I use this example. Go to Canada's Wonderland. I had fun. How do you know? What's the, standard? How do you know you had fun? Because I felt it, right? I had fun. It's an emotional thought. I had fun today. Okay, fair enough. You had fun. Does that mean Wonderland is a good thing? No. Just means you enjoyed it. Okay. So that's the end of the emotional thought. I had fun. Okay. Depression doesn't stop there. Depression has these irrational emotional thoughts. Okay? Two forms that I identified. One is the exaggerated emotions. Go to Canada's Wonderland. This is the best thing ever. Or this is the worst thing ever. And it's just this exaggerated emotion. Something happens to you in your life. This is horrible. I just want to kill somebody. Ever had that thought? Okay. Or the other side, I just want to die. It's like, why? Because this thing happened. Really? Or, let's say you're in university and you're having a hard time and you're like, I just want to quit. Well, I don't know anybody who would have that thought. But if they did, that would be an exaggerated emotion. Okay? It's like, you're having a hard time. Quit? You sure? Are you sure you're thinking? Are you not going to regret that later? So it's because the emotion is so much bigger than it should be. Okay? And the irrational emotion thought, exaggerated importance. I had the worst time ever. Canada's Wonderland is the worst thing ever. I'm going to protest. And I'm going to post about how horrible Canada's Wonderland is. Okay? So in other words, this thing that happened to me is the worst thing that's ever happened to anyone, and it's the biggest deal ever. This person did this thing to me, it's the biggest deal ever. Ever had that conversation? I can't believe this happened. That's how I felt. Somebody betrayed me. Somebody very important to me betrayed me. And I can tell you how, and he'd probably disagree. But he'd be wrong. This is what he did. And he betrayed me. And it was horrible, and I hated it. And it broke me bad. It wasn't the worst thing ever. It really wasn't. Felt like it. Okay? People have been betrayed before. It's not the worst. I mean, and my wife and I have this saying, well, it could be worse. We don't mean it. We laugh when we say it, because what we really mean is, who cares? This is worse. This is the worst. Could be worse. That doesn't help. But it's true. It's like, come on. This is not, so there's this exaggerated importance. This is what depression is doing. It's exaggerating the emotion and exaggerating the importance of the situation. And now we're all confused. God must not exist because I'm going through pain. I think we're exaggerating the importance. Okay, so what are we going to do? Plan, worship. Okay, here's one thing you want to do. Be quiet. Because the words that are coming out when you're doing that aren't good words. So I suggest stop speaking. As the numbers drop, you should be getting quieter. And I know the instinct is, as the numbers drop, you get louder, right? The worse you feel, the more you want to express it. I highly recommend you don't, okay? Unless you've got that person that you can grieve with, go to them and express it. But don't take it out on the people around you. I highly recommend you stop complaining. Just stop. It's not helping you. Just stop complaining. Stop talking about how horrible everything is. Stop saying the lines, I hate everything. It's not helping. That's one of my favorites. I hate everything. It's not helping. Or, I suck. I did that one for a long time. I suck. I hate myself. I suck. That didn't help. Okay? And that was confusion. Okay? I'm an idiot just like the rest of you. I'll admit that. But come on. Like, exaggerated importance. Exaggerated emotion. So just stop talking. Quiet. Talk. If you're going to talk, go talk to someone who can talk smart to you. Because you need to think. And you may need to be around somebody who can. So don't get alone. Go to somebody who can actually intentionally talk with you, and then you can talk. And then they can say, you're being dumb. With the stuff you're saying, I suck. Come on. You're being dumb. This is irrational. And let them beat you up with wisdom. And then here's the thing: if you can do this, mentally, those feelings, especially these three, the guilt, the loss, the fear, except in a counseling situation or whatever, just kick them to the curb. When that feeling comes in of, oh, my life is going to end, it's all going to be, if you can get the wherewithal to go, oh my gosh, here we go again. I'm on a 3. I'm thinking the stupid thoughts. Here goes the, I suck and everything, here we go. I'm going to shut up now, and I'm just going to ignore that. And you can hear it over there. You suck. Your life sucks. It's always going to suck. It's like, shut up. Whatever. Don't engage. Don't debate. Don't argue. God doesn't exist. God doesn't love you. Shut up. Just whatever. And the whole time you're like, you feel that you want to agree. Oh, that's true. It's all true. But you know it's not. You've thought before, and you know it's not true. Ignore it. It's just a nag. Just ignore it. Reject it outright. I'm not listening to you. And then if you can reason, use the life reason. Grace, faith, hope. Grace, faith, hope. What's grace say? God is for me. What's faith say? I give my life to him. What's hope say? That matters. That matters. That's it. Nice and simple. All the other stuff can just go away. Well, here's what I know. God is for me. I've given my life to him, and that matters. All this other stuff, whatever. Just come back to that spot. Keep coming back to that spot. That's your reason. I know that's true. I know that's true. I know that's true. So what does that mean about the rest of it? I don't know. And you know what? Whatever. I don't have to know. Okay, number 4, self-obsession. Have you noticed, if you have depression, that you only think about yourself? Oh, man. I read this note that I wrote some time back. It's like, I hate what I've become. I'm so lazy. I'm so selfish. I don't care about anybody or anything but me. That's a horrible feeling. But you know what it is? A feeling. Okay? Self-obsession can be a feeling, or it can be a decision. The feeling's not relevant unless it becomes a decision. Okay? So feeling that everything matters is yourself. All that matters is your little life and your struggle. Okay, feel that. Don't agree with it. Don't decide that's the case. So here's all the thoughts. I don't like it. That's what matters. I don't like it. Or opposite, it feels good. That's what matters. I do it because it feels good, and I need to feel good. I need to feel good. So I do this thing that I know I shouldn't do because I need to feel good. I don't want to. Or it feels good, so I'm doing it. But it hurts. I'm tired. I don't care. Who would say that? That's dumb. So I can see if you've fallen asleep on me yet, because I know you should be. You're annoying. You may not actually say those words, but you're thinking it about the people around you. You're annoying. What that means is, I matter, you don't. I give up. Yeah, whatever. It's one of my favorite lines. Yeah, whatever. You and your feelings, that's all that matters. Okay, no. So, once again, we're going to think. None of those things are true. We know they're not true. So, first thought, similar to what I said before. I belong to Jesus. Okay? Right over to the other side. I belong to Jesus. Keep telling yourself that. If you're a Christian, you have depression, keep coming back to this. Jesus has given himself to me. I have given myself to him. Okay? What does that mean? What does that mean? Let's think. What does that mean? It means that my health matters. You think you decide whether your health matters? Not as a Christian, you don't. God decides whether your health matters. You follow him. You don't get to sit at home and go, I don't really care. Don't care. I just want more food, because I have a food addiction. I just want another beer, so I enjoy it. I just want to sit here and watch Netflix some more. Now, sometimes you have to do that. It's all you can do. I'm not talking to that. I've already explained that. I'm not talking about it. Sometimes you can't help what you're doing, okay? You're surviving, survive. I'm talking about when you can think. And when you can think, you have to challenge this stuff. You can't just do whatever you want because you have depression. You can't just ignore all the things that everyone else is having to deal with because you have depression. You can't do that. You can't give yourself permission to do that. Your health matters. So you got to do something about it. And other people matter. You got to do something about that too. For me, I was like, I don't want to go to CR.
because I don't like it today. And it's not helping me right now. I don't feel like it. I don't want to. I'm staying home. Nowhere in all that reasoning is, there's other people at CR that might need me. Never crossed my mind. Until I go to CR and somebody says, wow, I appreciate what you just said, that really helped me. I'm like, oh yeah, it's not all about me. Oh yeah, I remember I gave my life to Jesus. Oh yeah. And then another conviction, never quit. You never quit. You take a day off, you take a week off. You might take a couple of weeks off if it's really bad. As soon as that 3 becomes a 4, you move your butt. You don't quit. You know what quitting leads to? More quitting. That's not a good place to go. That's a lost, damaged spiral you don't want any part of. Never, ever quit. And you have to say to yourself, I'm not a quitter. I'm not going to quit. I'm taking the day off. I can't do anything today. That doesn't mean I quit. That means I can't do anything today. We'll try again tomorrow. You don't quit. It's just not your permission. You can't quit. You belong to Jesus. Don't quit. And then the last one. And all the people said, Amen. Well, which part of this was I supposed to cut out? Resignation. Resignation. Your life is over. Don't bother. Anybody reached the resignation? Anybody done this resignation one? Yeah. Really proven. That one I do know. It matters. Move. Socially. Don't isolate. Keep connecting. And I say keep connecting because of that. That's exactly why I say it. Because connecting is horrible. You don't want to connect. It feels terrible, and people don't know what they're talking about, and people are stupid. So why would I want to connect with them? Because you're stupid too, that's why. And you need them. You need them. They're not dumber than you. That's depression telling you that they're dumber than you. No, they're just inconvenient and no fun. So, and hard work. People are hard work when you have depression. You want no part of them. Don't do that. And I say keep connecting because you're going to take time off. I can't connect anymore. I'm done. No, you're done for now. Okay? Talk in another week. Go back, do it again. Find somebody you enjoy a little bit. It's got to be somebody. Surely. And then the spiritual part. I say spiritual, but this is practical. Here's what I mean by spiritual. So remember, we're bringing the heaven life, we're bringing the big life onto the little life. There's ways in the little life to make that happen. So I have some examples. For me, music. I connected to Spotify and it changed my life. And I mean that. I wouldn't give Spotify, it'd be the last thing to go on my budget. I'd stop eating before I gave up Spotify. Because the music, I have an earbud. Here's my earbuds. And if I'm not with you, this earbud is on my ear. It clips on so that I can still hear things. I have always got access to music. And I have playlists for my mood, and I build them and change them. It's a little project of mine to keep the music flowing. And man, why does that work? Because it's beautiful. It's connection to God. It's beautiful.
And that to your soul, cuts through your brain.
Right to your soul. That's the point. Right to your soul. Skips all the other stuff and goes right to your soul where God is doing his thing. Go for it. There's other things you might find. I mean, this is all dependent on you, right? Nature's another one. I know you don't want to leave the house. Leave anyway. At least get out in a day like today. Go out, stand in the sun for a minute, and say, man, I'm glad we have a sun.
And a grape.
What?
And a grape.
And a grape. Don't forget the grape. Do whatever. It's like, this is a little bit of joy. This is a little bit of beauty. This is a little bit of love. Whatever can pull down those things about God and give you just a teeny little taste of them. Do them over and over. And when you get sick of grapes because you're eating too many grapes, eat something else. Move on to something else that doesn't hurt you. I'm not suggesting a lot of whiskey. But it brings me joy. No. It feels good. That's not the same thing. Comedy. Here's another one. Absolutely. I'm telling you, this one's a big one. Laugh as much as you can, even if you're pretending. Laugh. Okay? Watch comedy if that makes you laugh. One of the best things to do is to laugh at yourself. Laugh at your depression, because it's pretty funny sometimes. Let me give you an example. Finally, I get to use this example. I walk out of the room, and there's our cat. And we have a wood stove, and the cat's in front of the wood stove. And it's all spread out in front of the wood stove, just loving the heat, right? And I'm like, oh, Minzy, are you enjoying the toasty? I said toasty 5 times. That's brain fog, man. Toasty, 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 toast. And I'm like, what the heck just happened? That was my response. What just happened? I completely lost my mind. That's some funny stuff, man. That's hilarious. And you can sit and go, oh my gosh, the brain fog, my depression is so horrible. Or you can say, that's hilarious. That's funny. And now anytime I'm having one of those moments, like, my family loves to play cards with me when I'm like this. I don't remember what's wild, and I don't remember whose turn it is, and they're like, that was wild, and they're like, oh yeah. They think it's hilarious. And they'll just say, oh, Dad's having a toasty moment. Laugh as much as possible. And that's why even when I'm talking to you about this depression, it's horrible stuff. But we gotta laugh as much as we can. It feeds the soul. Why? Why did God give us laughter? Because He's joy. Because He's joy. And so we laugh to experience what that spiritual state is. It's a way for us to have a human experience of God. So you do it on purpose with your mind. Don't wait to feel good to laugh. Just like, okay, that's funny. And if it doesn't come out as wah ha ha, that's fine. But just like, yeah, that was funny. That's pretty funny. And on purpose, okay? Gotta laugh. And this other one, here's another plug for CR. Coming to CR changed my life. Let me explain to you why, real quickly. Some of you are like, oh my gosh, he's still talking. I can see it on your faces. It's funny. Here's why. Because remember why I came because I had depression, and I'm like, I'll try anything. See where my mind was? I feel like crap, and I want something to make me feel better. So I'm going to go to this thing. Someone invited me, and I'm going to go to this thing, and maybe it'll make me feel better. That's the little life. I'm in the spiral. I'm thinking wrongly. I'm doing the dragon's beating me up. Okay? But here, I'm going to keep coming. I'm going to connect. These are Christians. Let's do all that stuff. So I came again. And then what happened is I shifted my focus. Now we're going to have a depression support group. And we're going to focus on depression. But I can tell you one of my goals is to get you focus off. Okay? So focus on depression when we need to. And then we're going to start talking about other things. Because when I got my focus off the depression and on the spiritual life of growth, of how to deal with my hurts, habits, and hang-ups. And I started doing the step study, and I started sharing, okay, I got a food addiction. No, the first one was anger. Well, first thing I did was ask God, do I have any issues? He answered me. It wasn't pretty. I have it in my journal. God, do I have any issues that I might want to work on? It's like, I'm a horrible person. Where do I even start? He said, anger. And I was mad. Always mad. Being on things mad. All the time. Boy, I get triggered. Oh. I scared people. I can tell you stories. I scared people. But, so he's like, no, that anger's not going to work. And so I took my blue chip, surrendered it to God, took my blue chip, walked around with my blue chip, and you decide how the blue chip works. You pick the blue chip, and you're like, here's how it works. Here's what I did. When my anger comes out of my mouth, I lose. So guess how many blue chips I took? Next week, blue chip. Next week, blue chip. Oh, it went on. Next week. And then finally, it was like, I came down, I'm like, the last week. I'm like, I just went a whole week. I didn't say anything. Wow. I don't know if I've ever done that. Like, this is amazing. And then I kept going. And here's what God did with me. And this is not expected to be normative. But I did this for a while, and then I finally hit that magical 30 days, that red chip. I went a whole month, and I didn't spout any garbage out of my anger. Amazing. It feels so good. And then you pick up some speed, you start going from month to month. And then one day, I realized it's gone. God just said, okay, we're done. And He just took it. And that was the end of the anger. Now, I get angry. I'm a human being. But anger is not an issue for me anymore. I mean, I can still get, I have buttons that still get pushed, but it's not like, it's gone. Now tell me that isn't a beautiful thing. Tell me that doesn't help the depression. I still feel horrible with depression, but my life is different. So I absolutely plug the CR thing. Let's deal with some actual issues and not just focus on depression all the time. But we've got some issues. Let's see if we can deal with them and take the time. This is a 6-week program. Settle in. Take the time and let's do some growing and some changing and see what happens. It's amazing. And we do all the things appropriate to the number. This is my last statement. Okay? All of these things appropriate to the number. If you're at a 3, then you need a strategy. You decide what you can handle. When I'm at a 3, I can handle anything. And I know, I'm at a 3. I'm not doing today. I'm going to survive today. So I'm going to shut my mouth. I'm going to avoid everyone. I'm not going to anything. Cancel, 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 cancel. I'm not coming. Okay? I don't care what anybody thinks about it. It isn't about them. I don't care. If I go, I'm going to be sorry. And so I'm not doing it. I'm at a 3. This is my game. I'm not going. I'm not doing anything. 4, when I know I have just enough to move, I move or I've lost. I got to do something. I got to move. Little goals. I just have to go outside. Just do the little goal thing. And you need to have it in advance. When next time I'm at a 4, I'll walk out to the mailbox and get the mail. And then you write it down if you have the wherewithal. Write it down. Appropriate to the number. Don't be like, I'm going to lose 40 pounds. No, you're not. And you know what that's going to be when you don't? Loss. And then damage. Oh, you suck. I'm never doing that again. Well, that's because you were stupid. Don't attack the 40-pound thing. How about don't eat everything in the kitchen? How about that? How about I'm just going to cut out sugar for a week? Okay, I can probably do that because I have a food addiction. Okay, appropriate to the number so that you can keep going. Keep going. All right. I'm done.